So right now we have Marc Levin from Right on Justice. Did I say that right?
Right on Crime.
Shoot.
But that's, you know.
Right on Crime.
Yes.
Organization. And I love the fact that we were able to connect here at CPAC because this is kind of like the missing piece for me personally. I didn't tell you this before, but unfortunately, I lost a dear friend of mine, Marion Christopher Berry, Marion Berry's son, to an overdose. And he was always living under the shadows of his father. And I had to go into court with him sometimes. And just like a lot of our young African-American men, though he had wonderful potential, he always found himself in and out for some reasons. Never fully in, but always in trouble somehow. So being a new conservative, being a Republican now, I know for a fact that we need to have conservatives. We have to have a conservative approach to criminal justice reform. And I thank you first and foremost for what you and your organization are doing, because I don't want more of the things that have happened to my dear friends to happen to more people. So I just want to first and foremost say thank you.
Well, no, thank you, and thanks for sharing your powerful firsthand experience.
Yeah.
And, it's an issue that's touching people all over the country with opioid overdose deaths, and actually some of the hardest hit areas are in rural America. And so...
Nobody's immune.
Exactly.
Nobody's immune.
So that's why we have to, in the criminal justice system, create alternatives, whether it's drug courts, other ways to get people into treatment, to get them the help that they
actually
need.
have, a mental health treatment program. Not just vilify and criminalize people, right?
Exactly. And so there's lots of jurisdictions, states that have made major progress in this. We're working with conservative governors across the country. And we have our statement of principles that's signed by people like Newt Gingrich, Mike Huckabee, former Texas Governor Rick Perry, many others.
Because people usually don't think that conservatives or Republicans give 2 seconds about, I was going to say something else, but 2 seconds about criminal justice reform or care about our community or whatever you want to fill in the blanks. So why would a Rick Perry or Newt Gingrich of all people care about criminal justice reform?
Well, there's really so many reasons when you think about it, because the untapped potential that you alluded to.
Absolutely.
These are people that instead of being burdens on our society could be working, taking care of their families. So it's an economic issue. It's a human issue of redemption. So we have, so many social conservatives that have engaged on this because they realize everybody's created in God's image. Everyone has a God-given potential. And so we ought to have a system that offers second chances to people that
welcomes that,
right?
That it enhances that speed.
And so, and then, obviously just from the taxpayer perspective, prison is so expensive.
Yeah, well, the pipeline to prison, right?
Yeah, the school to prison pipeline. So that is actually a lot of research that shows that when kids are suspended from school, that then
as
they get
early as 12 and 10.
Yep, and they get in the habit of not going to school, and then they're truant. And then they end up getting involved in gangs and getting in trouble. And
it goes back to the individual, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, again, being a former liberal, you don't talk about that. They don't talk about how, you're an individual citizen, right? That you're born in this country. And you have the means to be able to, as you said, tap into your God-given potential at that young age or wherever you find it. But if something were to happen, that you have a way to do right by yourself. There's a second chance. You're not always, just because you are a young black man, that doesn't mean that you're defective, I'm sorry. I'm just so amped about this topic, and I'm so glad, but I do want to hear from you.
Oh no, well that's exactly right. And I mean, I just think that conservatives have the credibility on this because nobody's going to say Newt Gingrich is soft on crime.
Right.
And so for too long, I think conservatives had said before we really started Right on Crime, they were like, well, we're going to hold government agencies accountable in terms of the public school system, the healthcare system. But we said, let's apply that same lens of accountability to the criminal justice system. Hold it accountable just as we hold the offender accountable for results. So we don't want to judge our success, and some prosecutors' offices actually did this by how many people they sent to prison.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's judge our success by how many people's lives we turn around, how we reduce crime, how we get more people employed who have a criminal record.
Yeah,
that's what we
returning citizens, making
exactly.
sure that they, when they do serve their time, that they become, honestly, sadly, they might actually have better resources inside than they might have had outside.
Yeah, so we're working with the White House. I've been in many meetings with Jared Kushner. And we've launched the Safe Streets and Second Chances Initiative, which is a reentry program. We're going to have pilot sites in 4 states to start out with.
What are those states?
Texas, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and Florida.
Okay.
And but we're going to be starting to work with folks while they're still in prison in terms of mentoring, vocational programs, and then have a seamless transition with those interventions once they're released with an individualized reentry plan. So we're going to really be moving these folks into employment. And I think we'll demonstrate a substantial reduction in recidivism from this.
Well, I mean, again, I'm at this point where it's a sense of urgency, where it's like now or never, and that I don't want to see another generation of children grow up without their parents, moms and dads, because we can't forget the mothers, right? The incarcerated mothers. And then, of course, the young ones growing into that way of life. Yeah,
I'm so glad you brought up the women because it's the fastest growing segment. I mean, it's still obviously a small relatively, but and then there's actually a panel here at CPAC on the shackling of pregnant women while they're in prison.
We actually passed a good law here in Maryland to de-shackle, which is just, I can't even, it's weird. I mean, I think we always talk about, the role of government, right? People say, limited government, we don't want anarchy necessarily, but we want the right size, the right laws to be effective if you are going to create a law to change the the activity of citizens.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example, and it's been an issue in D.C., is civil asset forfeiture, where the police can take your property without a conviction, and then you have to file a lawsuit to get it back. And
so pay more money to the system.
Hire a lawyer and all of that, and it totally is a perversion of innocent until proven guilty, which is in our Constitution. And in many areas, of course, African Americans and others who are poor, they've lost their cars, they've borne the brunt of this. And, the whole idea was to take away contraband from drug kingpins, and we're all for that, but get a conviction before the title of that property passes to the government. So we've got legislation pending in Alabama, for example, to require a conviction that I hope will pass this year. So we're working in dozens of states across the country on these types of reforms.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know that you have so many other people you want to talk to, but I just thank you again for all your hard work. And if we can help, if I can personally help, anyway, I honestly, the only way we're going to be able to solve this, I absolutely positively believe, is through conservative principles.
Yep, and folks can go to rightoncrime.com, check out our statement of principles, sign up to get information from us. So thank you for your vision on this.
Well, yeah, man, I've been moved to do this, and we have the ability to do this, and we have no choice.
Yep, well, we're making progress. Thank you.
Thank you.